Let's talk about reselling. Hi, my name is Keisha, aka Keisha the Stylist. If you love thrifted, secondhand, vintage fashion taken to another level, then you're in the right place, guaranteed. So I asked you guys a while ago in a video if you would like me to touch on reselling and what platforms I sell on and things like that. And you actually said you would like that. So I am doing this video for you. But before we get into talking about reselling and the business of reselling, if you are new and you're just passing by, please hit that subscribe button. I'm still trying to hit my goal of 500 subscribers by the end of the year. I have little over a month to make that goal. So please, 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 if you like my vibe, want to check out more videos and see if you like my fashion and all of that type of stuff, please do that. And then please hit that subscribe button. So I know we're a good fit already. I know it. So might as well join the family. You know, it's cool over here. We love everything secondhand. We love fashion. We love thrifting. We love estate sales. We love all of that type of stuff. And if you're returning, you know how I feel about you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate so much more than you even know. With that said, let's get into this topic of reselling. So reselling is just pretty much buying items to sell again on some type of platform or your own platform. So you are reselling goods. Just to give you a history of my reselling career, I guess you could say. I started reselling back in 2000 and I want to say probably 2008. Probably around 2008, probably a little bit before 2008, and I just created my business, my first business back in 2008. I created a business called Caramel Sunday Vintage Clothing, and the caramel was spelled Karomel, Sunday, and then vintage clothing. And I got the name. Okay, you guys are probably gonna laugh at the story of how I came up with that name. I came up with the name by, if you grew up in the 90s and you love hip hop, I do love hip hop, and I was a fan of Method Man. I was a fan of Wu-Tang Clan. If you know where I'm going with this. I was way too young to be listening to this song, but they had a song called Ice Cream. And I remember buying a shirt that said Caramel Sunday on it with the Wu-Tang logo. I think it had the Wu-Tang logo. And I don't know, it stuck with me, but I decided to spell it a different way. Spell it with a K because my name starts with a K. So so that is the story behind that name. So I created my brand, Caramel Sunday Vintage Clothing. I created a website back then. Shout out to my big bruh from another mother, Maurice. He actually helped me create my website back then. I remember asking him to help me create it and all that type of stuff. But he helped me create my website. I also started reselling on eBay. eBay was huge for reselling back in 2008. And especially for like vintage. Back then, a lot of people weren't like thrifting, and vintage and all that wasn't huge back in 2008. It was just gaining popularity. So it was a few of us out there trying to resell vintage items. So I started reselling on eBay, and I did this for like 8 years. 8 years straight to resell on my own website. But we'll get into this, but getting traffic over to your own website is super hard. It's so hard. So for 8 years, I was selling on eBay, and I was having jobs and full-time jobs and things like that, but I was still reselling. And I went through undergrad reselling, and then I got into grad school, and I was trying to balance reselling and grad school, and it got a little difficult for me to balance both at that time. So I kind of gradually morphed into styling more than reselling at that point, and then I started working for a secondhand company. And at that time, it would have been a conflict of interest for me to resell and work my position. I don't know if like now they're okay with that, but like at that time, I don't think it was a good idea. So I closed my eBay store down. I had already by that time closed my website down. And I just thought, okay, I'll focus on my career at this company and start building from there. But along the way, people was like, you should sell this. You should sell these items. You have a lot of inventory. You should like have a store. You should do this. You should do that. I'm gonna get back into it, but I just don't know. Like, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work to resell, like especially on your own. You have to source your items, you have to take the pictures, you have to create the descriptions, you have to give measurements, you have to put them on whatever platform, do market research to price the items. Like, the list goes on and on and on. So I didn't know if I had the capacity, the brain capacity to do that and do a full-time job. It was too hard. The time of me toying with the idea of what is next in my career, I started to think about maybe I should start back creating, maybe I should create my own, get back into my own business, and part of my business will be reselling. And I just thought about it, and then when the opportunity came to like depart from that company, I was like, I definitely want to build something of my own and start reselling again. So when I knew I was going to leave my company, I was working on building my brand and my website and all of that along the way, like a little bit before, because like I always say, make sure you have multiple streams of income coming in. So this was in the back of my head for a while, and I started to think like, what else can I do? And I got my position as a adjunct instructor. And then I started to think of like, what else can I do? Because I started to want more out of my career, and I started to want to like grow and do different things. So I was like, let me get back into my entrepreneur bag. Let me get back into this. And it just so happens like I parted ways. But before I even did that, I started to create. I asked my nephew to help me create a website. So he built the foundation of my website. He's only 13 years old, and he helped me build the foundation of my website. So shout out, nephew. Thank you for bringing me back up to the present time. When I departed my previous job, I had my website going. I launched my website in the same week that I departed from my previous job. I knew that I wanted to have a resale portion of my business and a styling portion of my business. So I decided to create Keisha's Closet. It was called My Closet in the beginning, but I just renamed it Keisha's Closet. You can buy items straight out, and I would model the pieces on my website just to give you an idea of how you can style these items, because vintage is very hard to imagine how to style. Now I've evolved from like styling the items to hanging some of the items. So I have a mixture of me modeling the items, and there are some hanging items on there. I have the resale portion, and then I have the style box portion, which you can buy style boxes, and it is pretty much a personal styling experience. So I offer those two things on my own website. Like I mentioned before, the hardest thing ever is getting traffic over to your website and then having people convert to buyers. And that is hard. That's even hard for bigger companies. I've worked majority of my career in e-commerce, and that has been the hardest thing across the board. These large corporations trying to get people to the website and convert them to buyers. Imagine being a startup. It is super hard to get people to come to your website and actually buy. So I will say what I'm doing now is, you may have saw in my last videos, if you watch those, I have mailers now that I send out in any package, even if you buy off of other platforms, and I'll talk about the other platforms that I use as well. I send those out so that I can get you to come to my website, hopefully. I do cross post, so some of the items that you see on those other platforms will be on my website. But I try to offer vintage and unique pieces for my website. When it comes to like the sourcing, so for my website, I go generally to estate sales. I use estatesale.net. I've talked about that a lot, where they list all the estate sales that are in your area, close to you, where you can go visit. I try to source from there. I also source from this online estate sale where you can bid on a lot of the items. If you win, they will ship them to you, but it will cost. So think about that if you go onto these websites and you bid and you win, and think about shipping. For my own platform, I try to do more vintage and I source from estate sales. I'll pay a little bit more for the items for my website because they are unique and they're vintage items, but I do go to the outlet and try to find vintage and I source that way as well. So I reopened my eBay store. I generally list modern items on my eBay store and some vintage items as well, because vintage does well on eBay. That's one thing. Vintage will do well on eBay. I use the auction feature, and I'm trying to move away from that because I'm not gonna lie, I get mad when something sells pretty low. I'm like, no, but I don't list anything where I can't get at least a profit from, because that's the name of the game, right? You want to make money off of these items. On every platform, I do market research, so I search the secondhand marketplace online, see what this brand and what this type of item is being listed for, and then I try to list my items at that market rate, or a little bit lower or a little bit higher, depending on the quality and the brand of the item. So I always do market research across the board, no matter what platform I'm listing these items. The way that my store is set up, I can list up to 250 items a month on eBay. I haven't got up to that yet, but I'm trying to, because the more you list, the more you can sell, right? Some items you get paid out fairly quickly on eBay, and some items, I guess, if the item is a certain amount or if it needs to be authenticated or anything like that, it will take a little bit longer for you to get paid out. But generally, you can get paid out pretty quick on eBay. So let's move over to Poshmark. How eBay worked. Poshmark is pretty new for me. I started listing on Poshmark once I left my job. I've been on Poshmark for probably like going on 6 months. And I will say Poshmark has been a good platform for me. Poshmark is probably my best platform that I make the most sales on, and then eBay is second, and then Depop is third. More than my own website, I make more sales on Poshmark. Post more modern items on Poshmark. I will post some vintage items on there as well, but I do post a lot of my more modern items on Poshmark and list items at market value. I actually hang my items. So I hang my items. I try not to put any items of me self-modeling on Poshmark or even eBay, because they don't do as well. I would stay away from self-modeling on Poshmark and eBay. I would just try to do like on a dress form or hanging your items. When people send me offers, I generally take, unless they're trying to lowball me, and I decline. But 9 times out of 10, I do take a lot of the offers that are not get paid out for your item until the item is delivered to the customer. So if you do sell something, ship it out immediately so that you can get paid immediately. Depop. Depop is the youngest child, I will say, because I list like Y2K. I list more trendy items on Depop because that is the crowd that you're getting for Depop. You can actually model the items on Depop. That is a little preferred if you do, but you can also hang your items and all that type of stuff as well. There's a grace period of when you receive your payment for Depop as well. It is pretty much the same. You get paid out probably a week or so after you make the sale. They don't pay you out just like that. The last platform I'll touch on, but I don't generally sell a lot, which is funny. I should be all over Etsy. I should be, because that's the platform where you can sell vintage and all of that type of stuff. But for some reason, I haven't really I don't utilize Etsy as much as I should. I made one sale on Etsy. It's a surprise for me because I forgot all about it. The fees are pretty high on Etsy, and you don't get paid out that quickly. There's a grace period for them as well. So that is probably my last resort. Try to get more into posting on Etsy, especially because I have this huge box of vintage items that I need to sell. I will see how they do on my website first and then start posting them on Etsy. So we will see. Those are the platforms that I use. Those are the secrets to the platform of how long they take to pay out. Like I said before, the number one thing is to make sure you're doing your research on the brands and the items you have, so that you set your pricing correctly, because that is what's gonna make or break your sales. So make sure you're setting your price correctly. Make sure that you're taking great pictures. Make sure you put in any flaws in your descriptions. Make sure that you're taking into account the fees and also how much it's going to cost to ship. Your items can sit for a while before they actually sell. So, that is just the way that it is. I have some items that I've had on Poshmark and eBay for months and months. I have so much inventory right now that I can just work through my inventory for probably the next year and not have to go thrifting or sourcing or any of that type of stuff. I also pull from my closets. I'm tired of wearing something, I just decide I put it in inventory and it will be listed on one of my platforms to sell. And then if you go to a regular thrift store, you're paying a lot of money. You're paying a lot of money for these, and there's no guarantee that you're going to make a profit off of those items. So think about that when you're sourcing. Think about how much you want to pay and how much profit you think you can get. Because if you're paying $20 for an item and you're trying to sell it for $40, $50, $60, you may not get that. It may sit for a while and you end up marking it down, and you may not get the profit that you were aiming for. So think about those things when you're outsourcing as well. If you guys have any questions, want me to go into anything else about reselling, leave those in the comments. Please don't forget to like, comment, share if you know anyone who wants to resell. If you know more videos on this topic, if you guys want to leave any questions, and I can build on that. This first video was taking you through my experience and giving you some things that I've learned. But if you want to get more specific, then let me know in the comments. Every Wednesday and Sunday. Let me know what else you want to see from my channel. So it is the holidays, and I know this is a time for people to be with their family and celebrate, and laughter and happiness and all of that. There's people out there who may not have families, who this is a hard time for them. If that is you, I care, and I want you to know that you are not alone at this time to rest, rejuvenate, and Do something that you enjoy. If you do have family and this is the time to gather with your family, please enjoy that as well. Have fun. Don't eat too much. I will be resting. I will be probably working because that's what I do. Have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Have a good weekday. And I will holler at you guys later.